So I'm Dr. John Angelis. I teach currently at the Elizabethtown College in Pennsylvania. Elizabethtown is a small town in southeast Pennsylvania. And so I teach a variety of courses there, some operations and analytics courses, and also some management and entrepreneurship courses. And this is my 5th year there. So that's currently where I'm at. Well, thankfully, my grad department at Case Western was very involved in Informs. It was our main conference, and it was quickly made clear that Informs was a good thing to be a part of and that we should present our papers there and become a part of the community. So there's kind of instant guidance in the direction of Informs very early on. And I also got a little bit involved with ORMS Tomorrow while I was in grad school as well with Anne all the way back in the day. So that was some good experience to the greater part of Informs rather than just my small chapter, of course, and being part of my department. When I think about analytics, I think the key is that it's certainly about collecting and analyzing the data, but it's about also letting the data sort of drive the model. So I think a lot of times we have our favorite models and we like to use them, but true analytics is about letting the data pick the model that's best for it to some extent, and to the process of cleaning and sorting the data, but also then using the best possible model for where the data is leading you and what fits where the data is going. And then of course using it for prediction, past analysis, and whatever other purposes are needed. So to me, I had some really good professors in undergrad. I went to a school called Youngstown State University, and there were a few professors, particularly in the math department and also in industrial engineering, who did a great job of really trying to get the students into a lot of different programs, into internships, into interesting projects, so on and so forth. And they were very student friendly. And I saw the power that a good professor can have in the future of students. And I wanted to try to achieve that for myself. I enjoyed kind of the challenge of teaching, of trying to reach all parts of the classroom, whether the best students or students who may struggle a little bit more in the material, and everyone in between. And I also kind of like the intellectual environment of a college, where you have a lot of different speakers coming in, a lot of different disciplines in one place. And I appreciate kind of the way that colleges are very broad and lead to a lot of different types of learning. So I wanted to be a part of that environment, and so I decided to move on towards academia. I was very grateful when I was trying to make various decisions that I would turn to students who are just a few years older than me, who are already out in the marketplace, or when I was applying to grad school, of course, grad students. And it was surprising how many of them returned emails, were willing to help in some small way, were willing to give their current experiences. And I very much appreciate that. So I think one of the lessons is to talk to a lot of people who are essentially your peers removed by 3 or 4 years, and they're really going to give you a lot of good insight. Sometimes too, speaking people who have been out for a while and have chosen one or the other, maybe have forgotten what it's like on both sides. And so I definitely argue that you should try to find some people close as well to where you are, not just kind of course, older mentors and other people with kind of the perspective of more years. I think you have to ask yourself, academia can be a little bit of more of a slow start. It takes a little while to build your skills as a teacher, to start getting published, so on and so forth. But I think achieving in academia has a lot of rewards. Kind of once you learn the system and you become comfortable in a place, there's just so much you can do. Industry, I think, though, may offer more infinite variety in terms of just it's a lot easier perhaps to change jobs sometimes, change fields. And so you kind of have to ask yourself, am I more of a kind of a slow builder who wants to kind of achieve over time, or am I more kind of, I need a lot of variety, and I can tell, just the thought of being at one school for 30 years kind of worries me. That might help you decide a little bit one way or the other in terms of what really drives you the most and what your personal motivations are like. So when I was in high school, it's kind of interesting. I try to look back. I didn't really have a lot of math and science aptitude necessarily. My dad was an engineer and talked me into taking those classes, of course, but my interests were more in the liberal arts, in English and history, so on and so forth. And I was very nerdy, and I enjoyed a lot of sports, and those are still two twin passions today. But yeah, that's kind of what I remember of my high school time, was that I was just very into my classes and playing sports through the school, and those were kind of what was driving me the most at the time. And I really appreciate too, I went to a small school environment, and that really gave me a lot of opportunities to try things out and grow as a person. So I definitely saw then the value of teachers as well. Yeah, for sure. I think definitely a lot of the things I'm interested in forms are ways that math can be used to tell stories, and the way that kind of math drives kind of narratives and becomes how words become numbers and numbers become words, textual analysis. So that stayed with me, different pieces of it throughout, that I think not having been quant all the way up until I kind of went to college definitely affects how I look at some problems. So I definitely enjoy a lot of different foreign and independent movies. We have one theater in town that plays a lot of those. I've become a regular there. I volunteer there sometimes in tickets and things like that when they need someone. And it's just kind of interesting. In the last few years, I've gotten more into different types of movies and understanding more how they're reviewed and how they're composed and so on and so forth. So that's been a big side interest of mine. And also, I like the NBA at kind of all levels as a fan, as playing basketball myself, as reading the analysis, as statistical analysis. So I just kind of like it, just such a rich field of kind of narratives and interesting characters. But then there's also, of course, the math side and plenty of statistics. I play fantasy basketball, not really a surprise there. So I enjoy just the variety of levels at which the NBA can be appreciated. And so that's a big fan area of mine. I definitely have an interest in teaching some sort of class about sports management or sports analytics. And I've kind of put it off for a while, but it'd be fun to finally teach it and kind of see how it goes, what type of curriculum is out there, and the challenge of kind of seeing what type of students would it attract and how could you kind of truly get the students to learn the right skills, but also, of course, be more motivated by the material and realize just all the different types of questions that exist that they might not have thought of before. Definitely would hope that, at the end of a successful year, there'd be a paper publication. I have one kind of in the process right now that I have my fingers crossed for. I would love to. It's kind of one of those that I worked with a colleague from my RIT before I came to eTown. And so this has been in the pipeline for a long while. So the idea of just finally being able to put it in the done pile would be amazing. And definitely on a personal level, just kind of learning a new skill in modeling or programming. I think it's easy when you've been out for a while to just kind of stick with the skills you have. And I just kind of felt myself prodding myself a little bit that I need to learn something new this year. It's been a little too long since I've gotten something new in my toolkit. So if I were on a desert island, it's kind of, I would definitely have to bring some sort of tool. So I think that's number one, just because I could see the difficulty in wanting some sort of, anything from a hammer to needing something to manipulate items, grab items, whatever the case may be. That's, some kind of multifunctional tool I would hope I'd have. And then secondly, some sort of entertainment. So even if it was just some sort of ball or some sort of book, like something simplistic, but something you can get a lot of mileage out of. I think the one thing that would be really difficult in the desert island is fighting monotony. So it's like if there's something I could take, obviously not electronic, could run out too quickly, but something I could take that could give me something to do for a while that I could just kind of do over and over again. And the third item, I mean, my favorite answer is still, I'm stealing this from someone else, but the good old practical guide to shipbuilding is definitely always a favorite for a reason. There would be about something to kind of keep me occupied while on the island, but something hopefully to help me leave that island as well.